children of the night. What music they make.
They're all gonna laugh at you!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What's up?
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash you over.
And we're live, ready to talk about the movie it seems like we've been waiting for an entire year, the Nicolas Cage insanity that is Mandy. I'm Jason Brant, joined as always by Jack Campisi.
Mandy, you're a fine girl.
And Hunter Shea.
Is this thing on? Wait, fuck. Is this thing on? Did we start?
Someone else drive. So as I said,
I listen to that several times a week just to make myself laugh.
it was funny. That was the best intro of all time. So as I said, we're going to talk about Mandy, the insane Nicolas Cage film that I'm actually really looking forward to discussing it because of just how crazy the movie was in so many different ways. I think this is going to be an entertaining one. But first, as usual, let's jump into a little bit of horror news. What do we got?
No. We
Drinking
can't go
rules.
there. Drinking rules.
Oh my
Drinking
God.
rules. Drinking
How
rules.
many episodes have we done? I forget every single time. God damn it.
Okay.
Give me the rules.
For you noobs out there, this is what we do. Our good friend Sheridan comes up with words that we say, and we say, you drink. There you go. So here we go. Tonight, whenever Jack says biker, cult, or crossbow, imbibe. When I say insane, metal, or cabin, chug a lug. When Jason says chainsaw, acid, revenge, do a shooter. And bonus, if either the three of us knuckleheads says 80s, axe, or cage, you must down a shot of tequila.
Those are the money words right there.
Yeah, really. All done.
Acid
goodbye
is
to your
one I'm
liver.
probably going to say a lot.
Oh my I felt like I was on acid with that movie.
All right, now, unless I'm forgetting anything else, Jack, please
I
say
put
it.
on my Axe body spray before this. Does that count?
Sure.
Oh, God. Are you the guy who just, like, sprays it head to toe? and then goes
Here's
to
a
bar?
here's a quick Axe body spray for you. I had friends that worked at a marketing agency that did work with Axe, and so one of the people had a can of it on their desk, and I'd come to visit to have lunch with somebody, and I'm like, "Oh, is this Axe body spray?" And I pick it up, and everybody in the office stood up and goes, "Do not spray that."
You don't want to accidentally attract a 15-year-old girl.
Oh, my God.
Or a swarm of mosquitoes.
Well, I mean, because it's for high school kids. That's why.
Well, in the commercials, they're just spraying it like it's goddamn soap on their body. So I think
Jesus.
high school kids just go nuts with that stuff.
Ridiculous.
Okay, I got some cool horror news for you and some other questionable stuff. Does anybody here watch The Goldbergs? It's on
No.
ABC.
I have watched a couple of episodes. I've enjoyed it.
The Goldbergs is one of the few network TV shows that I not only love, I DVR it and I watch it all the time. It takes place in the 80s, and they're smart enough to be like, it was 1980 something, so they can just do any 80s reference and they don't have to be accurate.
Mhm.
Patton Oswalt is the overdub kind of Wonder Years narrator.
It's Wonder
And-
Years for the 80s.
Yeah, and basically it's when Hunter and I grew up. So it's a very, very funny show. And the I forget her name, the blonde chick from Reno 911 is the mother. Jeff
Yeah, she's
Garland's
great.
the father, and the kids are hilarious. Anyway, one of my favorite shows. Turns out for their Halloween episode this year, Freddy Krueger will be doing A Nightmare on Elk Avenue, and Robert Englund is going to be reprising his role as Freddy Krueger, which he had
Wow.
retired, and this will be the first time he's putting on the makeup.
Wow, that's really cool.
That crazy?
Wow. Okay.
I am so looking forward to. I'm telling you, it's a really funny show, and not only is Freddie or Robert Englund showing up, but last year they had Rick Moranis reprise Dark Helmet in a dream sequence in the kid's bedroom, and he had the helmet on and everything.
They pulled him out of retirement?
They pulled Rick Moranis out
Yeah.
of retirement, and supposedly Rick Springfield is also going to be in this season.
That's so awesome.
Which, if you ever want to see funny Rick Springfield, watch Californication, because there's like a season where he's Rick Springfield in it, and
That
it's
was great.
freaking hilarious.
I gotta watch that show.
Oh yeah.
Californication's great. It's so raunchy.
Yes.
Beauty. I'll watch it with the kids.
There's a lot of nudity in that.
Great. And my mom.
So for anybody out there who is a Goldberg fan, this is for you. JTP.
Goldbergs.
You guys won't get that.
I'm gonna be honest. I've barely even heard of the Goldbergs, so hearing all this is kind of cool.
Isn't JTP like the chant for the crew?
Yeah, the oldest son in his gang.
Yes.
That's their
Wow. See, 2 episodes. I already figured that out.
That's their
Yeah.
O'Doyle rules.
the one thing the 80s references are phenomenal, and it's really funny. It's also this show that always has like the heartwarming ending, but it doesn't get too saccharine that you're like, I hate this show.
Right.
You're gonna figure out the formula and roll with it.
All right.
Okay. There is a John Carpenter movie that Hunter Shea loves that I have warmed up to. I really didn't like it when I first saw it, and I watched it a couple of years ago and was like, oh, okay, it's better than I remembered. I don't know what you think of this, Jason. Prince of Darkness?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Prince of Darkness.
Big fan? I know it had the guy from Simon and Simon with the classic stash.
Yep.
I mean, you know, on his hierarchy of films, it's in the lower third, but that doesn't mean it's not a good movie.
Well, Alice Cooper as the homeless guy.
I put it in the middle third. I don't know, but I have a bizarre affinity for that movie.
I rewatch it every couple years. I think there's some really neat stuff in it.
I just thought a big vat of goo that was the devil was really dumb. But
But it sprays people.
It's based on a real story.
true story there, dog.
True story.
Anywho, John Carpenter was having an interview, and in it he dropped the possibility of doing a TV series version of it for Shudder. And he said something to the effect of, wouldn't that be cool? And so it's not official or anything, but he's kind of thrown it out there as a possibility, as something he'd do with Shudder.
I'd be fascinated to see what he does, because that was like that movie. He was like really into metaphysics at the time. That's what birthed that movie. I'd love it if he was given more time to explore that.
I just want to see him do anything. You know?
Yeah, really. Real Housewives.
I think this is the perfect format. I think being kind of in the lower middle of the Carpenter hierarchy and being pretty dated, I think this is actually one of those ones that whether you did a remake or you did a series, I think this one could be revisited. And with a series, you could take your time. You could rethink the whole goo thing and make it maybe a little bit more
Less
Interesting.
gooey, more chewy.
Exactly.
Could you get Alice Cooper back? Was the
Alice
million-dollar
Cooper could
question.
be back.
No longer needs the makeup to look scary and homeless.
They could get Lady Gaga. She likes to be in stuff.
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
I think with Shudder, that's a cool idea. I've always wanted him to do something with Blumhouse. You know, just have them give him $5 million and let him do whatever the hell he wants. See what happens.
John Carpenter smokes.
This
Chain smoking all day.
this constant need for new content because there's so many new outlets is definitely on the horror fan side, because we're getting so, I mean, they're taking so many swings that even if they miss 5 times, they're hitting 5 times. You know what I mean? So
And you don't care. Shudder's $5 if they miss. You go,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Shudder brought back Monster Vision, for Christ's sakes. Of all the things to ever come back,
Joe Pop
Yeah.
is like on fire now.
it's crazy. I follow him on Twitter, and the dude is everywhere. It's insane. I used to be able to, if I'd message him on Twitter, I'd get an answer back. I guarantee there's no chance in hell now.
No way. His days are
nuts.
over.
Yeah.
All right. The final piece of news. We've all been talking about the Child's Play remake
All the time.
all the time. We keep bringing
So
back,
excited.
and I've been pretty much like, I don't want anything to do with this. Then they announced that Aubrey Plaza was going to be starring in it, and suddenly I'm kind of curious about this.
So we're going to have an indifferent woman playing beside Chucky.
Have you seen Legion on FX?
No.
So Aubrey Plaza is in Legion, and she is spectacular.
Really?
I can't even describe. But
Can she act like past the bubble of petulant teenager?
Yes, she can.
Which drives me bananas with
If
her.
if you watch Legion, you will see, and she plays almost a couple of different roles in it. So she's menacing. She's like plays like a crazy person. Like there's a lot of
All right.
layers to her. So listen, I'm still not holding my breath. That doesn't get me anything good. Somebody else is in this too. Brian Tyree Henry.
Sure, that guy.
I don't know who he is.
So this is the remake of the original, not a sequel to The String, right?
Yeah, this is a reboot.
Oh, okay.
This is the one they're screwing Don Mancini over on because he's
Right.
continuing with his own shit, right?
Yep.
Yes.
We're supporting Don.
I don't really mind remakes that much. Sometimes they bother me, sometimes they don't. But what they're doing here is just so ridiculous. You're going to reboot a series that's still going? What the hell?
This is like DC. This is like DC. They've got The Flash on TV. They've got Supergirl on TV. Now they're talking about not doing Superman movies for a while and doing Supergirl movies. I'm like, don't you have Supergirl on TV? We'll do another one. They've got Jared Leto as a Joker, and they're talking about doing a Joker Harley Quinn movie with those two. Joaquin Phoenix is now doing a Joker movie that's outside that continuum, and Scorsese's involved, which sounds like it could be great. But how many freaking Jokers and
maybe don't greenlight the other one, dipshits.
Yeah, it's. I mean, when the same. This is bad enough. The same company's putting out the same stuff, but here, same thing is. How many freaking Chuckies do you need? Like, so I don't know.
Many Chuckies.
But at least Aubrey Plaza, I'm a fan of hers. So it gives us some hope. But at the same time, I get what you're saying, Hunter. Like if she does her Park and Rec thing where she's just kind of in the corner being sarcastic.
Exactly.
I don't know. Maybe she could rock some resting bitch face and make it intense.
You ever see Life After Beth?
No, it's on Netflix, right?
That's a really good movie.
Someone told me it was terrible, so I just skipped it.
I told you it was good, but you don't listen to me.
Yeah, I just probably forgot.
It seems like a love story zombie thing, so I wasn't really interested. But it's good.
I think it's worth watching.
All right, I'll check it out. I like.
Also, she's pretty.
Pretty flat.
She's a pretty girl.
And she recently passed Joe Biden as the most popular person from Delaware.
So
I refuse to believe that.
That makes two of them. and the guy who started Dogfish Head.
Yeah, that's the most popular guy.
He's my favorite. All right.
And with that, that's all the news that's fit to print.
You know, I didn't want to rampage too bad during that news. That was not bad.
No, good job.
That was not bad. All right, we're going to take a quick break and jump into some staff picks.
We have such sights to show you.
And I still need to change that bumper so it stops saying curation. I forget every single week. Every time I edit, I'm like, okay, I got to change that. And then I just forget.
Well, we're teaching people. Staff picks must mean curation.
Yes.
And vice versa.
That's why I'm doing it. It's a public service to everyone who listens.
Mm-hmm. PSA, baby.
You hear that, Sheridan? All right, I'll jump in first. I watched, and this is the first time I'd seen this in 20 years, maybe longer. Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Oh.
I am the biggest fan of the first movie. It's got everything you need. Gore, comedy, epic nude scenes. It's the best. It's the best. I watched this a long time ago. I thought it was decent and not decent enough to revisit. I decided to finally do it, and I still think pretty much the same thing. I don't understand why this exists. I don't understand how someone greenlit a movie where they recast the two main characters to basically play themselves again in a new movie, but they're different characters in a different town where the same thing happens.
The funny thing was, when that came out, I didn't care. I was actually happy to see them. The Pathmark guy.
Did you think they were the same character at first?
Oh, yeah, of course.
The great thing about that is, I forget exactly what the line is, but it's something like the Pathmark guy goes, I don't know, there's something about all this. Us, them, seems familiar.
That guy in particular plays the exact same role. He freaks out every time stuff happens.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
Yeah. Why does this exist? I don't understand it.
By the way, that's the great James Caron, who was still alive at like 94.
Damn.
Did he come on the show?
We know he was very religious.
You moved the tombstones, but you didn't move the bodies, you son of a bitch.
So, here's the thing. This movie should suck. It doesn't. It's not great, but it's fun. There's some decent comedy. There's some decent gore. It's everything from the first movie, just not as good.
And a Michael Jackson reference.
That is really bad. When that zombie just like runs in front of frame, it's like, really? But whatever. The movie was goofy. My favorite part, though, is when the guy is chasing his girlfriend, just telling her he wants to eat her brains, and she goes, "Oh, okay," and then lets him do it.
Yeah, they had a good time making that movie.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's decent. It's worth a watch if you haven't seen it in a long time. But
where did you watch it on?
I've had a copy for, oh my God, probably when I watched it the first time. I was buying DVDs back then like crazy. It's fine. It's fun.
Because I don't think you can find it like I got a Netflix or like you've got to pay-per-view it if you want.
Yeah,
to
you do.
This would be a perfect pickup for Shudder. They should just have all three. That'd be great.
Part 3 is actually good too. Part 3 is better than part 2.
So that's what I want to revisit next. I just remember it being so different. I wasn't very happy the first time I saw it. So I want to give it some fresh
again.
eyes. Hunter, what did you watch?
Okay, I was cruising around Netflix, and of course, I couldn't stop when I saw that there was a Bigfoot documentary. So,
what a surprise!
I was like, "Oh, I haven't seen this one." Discovering Bigfoot. This is people who know this world will know who Todd Standing is. He's this 6'5" like survivor man, kind of, who has incredible.
He's so tall he can't sit down.
Exactly. He has incredible footage of Bigfoot that he kind of puts himself into their habitat for a long time, and it's full color of their faces staring at him.
It's big footage.
It's big footage, and it's always they're looking at him, and it's like it's 5, 10, 15 minutes long. The problem with some of those videos are some look really kind of fake, but then some look so good. I can't imagine even like Spielberg coming up with these special effects. So I don't know what's going on with this guy. But anyway,
it's got to be real.
It's totally real. So he's going out and he's showing Dr. Jeff Meldrum, who I met recently at the Cryptozoology conference. I have something he gave me here. And also John Bindernagel, who is a biologist, but he's been studying Bigfoot since the 60s, who just recently passed away. Which was funny because my wife is going, why do they have this old man running around in the woods 100 miles from civilization? They're going to kill him. I was like, well,
did they?
As a matter of fact, they did. You got to watch this. It's 2 hours long. So watch it in bits, take chunks out of it. The interstitial stuff, Standing likes to just shoot video of him running randomly through the woods or riding his all-terrain vehicle through water. So whenever
looks like a badass,
and it's like this music's like dun 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 dun, and so you've got this serious kind of documentary with these scenes in there that are just screamingly funny. Screamingly funny.
Are they meant to be funny, or is he trying to look badass?
No, this guy thinks he's badass. Like, there was no intention in this other than showing that I'm a badass. And he's always just running. He's running in a ghillie suit. It's awesome. And it's intriguing because Dr. Jeff Meldrum, he's a pretty level-headed guy. So watching this guy stand and get so excited, and Meldrum just going, yeah. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you're kind of selling me on this guy's arrogance. Like I'm pretty interested.
You were gonna love his enthusiasm when he's showing evidence.
What part of the country are they finding this Bigfoot in?
Oh, they were of course they were in the Pacific Northwest. That's where you go.
What about exists? You go to Texas.
True, but then they're gonna fuck you up.
Flatland without trees.
Yeah, I ain't going there, man. So check that out, Discovering Bigfoot. If anything, for John Bindernagel's final appearance in a film.
Where did you see this?
Netflix, baby.
Netflix. Okay, I will check that out. Before we go to the next one, you need to watch a show. I think it was only one season, Killing Bigfoot. Have you ever heard of it?
I watched it.
That was one of my favorite shows I've ever seen. That was the biggest pile of shit. I loved every moment of it.
Exactly. I sat there going, wow, why am I watching this? Because I can't stop.
Oh my God. That was the biggest train wreck of all time. I loved it. I'm trying to find like a Blu-ray of it, but I don't think they made any. I want that so
Were they
bad.
trying to kill Bigfoot in this show?
Hell yeah.
And they faked this whole moral dilemma, like this guy was following them around the country trying to keep them from killing Bigfoot because it was like a sentient, hominid, humanoid being.
Oh my God. It was great.
It was the best. So anyway, Jack, what do you got?
I watched a movie on Prime called American Fright Fest.
I have not heard of this.
Movie is relatively new, and it stars the other guy from Nip Tuck, not Julian McMahon,
Right.
the other guy. And he is a horror director who's sort of like a Stephen King like legend in the horror world, but then has a downfall because of drug addiction or whatever, which they're not subtle about. Every time you see him, he's like drinking a beer or snorting or whatever. He's like really overacting. So then, to redeem himself, this town in Pennsylvania, I believe, decides they want to do a fright fest, so they'll become a annual destination, and they figure to have this guy do it, and he'll have the marquee name, and he'll do it for like cheap or nothing or whatever to stay out of trouble and to kind of redeem himself. So they hire him to put on this like kind of like intense like fun house kind of haunted attraction thing. And so in like a old insane asylum, and he hires a bunch of wacky, they're supposed to be teens, I guess, but they're all in their 20s and 30s, whatever they're supposed to be. A couple of
Beverly Hills
hotties.
90210.
I don't know if they're supposed to be teens or not, but they're the typical group of people who are going to get picked off. And meanwhile, there's a murder at the beginning of the movie, and then there's this busload of inmates from another insane asylum that crashes, partly because of the guy on drugs who swerved and missed them on a road. And two of the inmates get out, and one of them is just like, he's got like the Hannibal Lecter mask on and stuff. And so these two guys go in, and one of them is like trying to help everybody, but they're both in inmate things. So the people let him in thinking that they're employees. And so one of the guys starts just killing people. So it's kind of fun where he'll just run up unceremoniously and just whack somebody with an axe. So there's actually some good gore, but overall, this is a low budget movie that's poorly written.
No way.
And it's not funny enough to warrant it watching a low budget movie. Like if this movie had been funnier, you'd be like, oh my God, this movie's awesome. You got to watch it. But it was trying to be funny and it wasn't. Or it wasn't trying hard enough. So I ended up just kind of like watching it going, wow, this is really not that good. So very happy that I didn't pay to see it.
Yeah. See, now I'm convinced that if I'm ever going to make a movie and I'm going through it, I'm like, are you putting it together? Go, well, this sucks. I'm going to put on a ghillie suit and just run around and just throw that in.
Could I ask what a ghillie suit is?
It's like a camouflage suit.
Yeah, did you ever see like, a movie with a sniper laying in the grass and he has a suit that makes him? Okay, it's a ghillie suit.
That's like the movie version of Ghoul, where the guy was just in one of those.
Bughoul.
The movie version of Ghoul?
Anyway,
the
Brian Keane.
I never saw the movie.
Don't.
Was that good?
It is nothing like the book. Nothing.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. That's weird.
There's a movie in the theaters called Hellfest right now.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
That I think this movie was thrown out there to bait people into thinking that, oh, this is that horror movie that has fest in it.
It might. Hey, that happens all the time.
It happened to me, kind of. Like I was looking, and then I saw that Hellfest was in the theater, not on. So it's like, oh, what's this? I'll just check this out. So
who put it out? The Asylum. That's how you really know.
Probably.
Gravitas.
All right, I'm gonna run through two here real fast because one of them I'm not even really gonna talk about. It's UFO, a movie that just came out this month with Gillian Anderson in it. So,
oh, you saw it?
I saw it because Gillian Anderson. My first thought was, how in the hell did they talk her into being in a movie about aliens? I would think she would just run to the hills.
Considering how she's trying to do serious stuff,
she's not in a movie about aliens. This movie, aliens are like what starts the story at the beginning and ends it at the end. And I'm talking 30 seconds each. This movie's about math. It's about a math whiz who thinks aliens have visited the Earth, and he's trying to use mathematics to prove it and to try to decode a signal, what he thinks is a signal from them. That's what the movie's about. If that kind of thing interests you, cool. But if you want to see an alien movie, this is not it. Do not watch this if you're looking for an alien film.
All you had to say was it's about math, and I almost stopped listening to you. That's how.
Almost.
Okay.
Surprised you're
man.
not on Twitter.
How is Gillian Anderson in it?
She's fine. She's doing this crazy whiskey voice thing in it that I was a little confused by. Like her voice sounded real nuts, but she was good. She plays a math professor in it. Supposedly some great mathematician.
I'm gonna check
fine.
it out.
She's not in it all that much. I would say 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But
It's got David Strathairn, so he's awesome.
who's? Oh yeah, I know. But yeah, he was good in it. So it's a decent movie. It's just not what I expected.
Right.
So
Okay.
second one, I watched Truth or Dare. The 2018
Well,
The Madonna movie.
Yeah,
That
I
would have
wish.
been better. I went to the movies for that.
You know, I was thinking of the way you described it to me while I was watching it. You said this movie is not made for us, so it's hard to review, and I could not agree more. This is starter horror for 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds. That's who it's for. What it reminds me of is a late 90s slick I Know What You Did Last Summer, urban legends kind of movie.
Valentine, that whole
it
gaggle.
really feels like one of those. Almost to a degree where I almost got a little nostalgic watching it for some of those shitty movies from the 90s. But it's PG-13. They did a pretty good job stretching the limit of what they were showing for PG-13. There's a couple interesting kills. You know, it's
One
a
of the
movie-
kids from the Goldbergs is in that.
Oh, cool.
Really?
This is a movie about a haunted game of truth or dare. So if you know, I thought they did as good a job of trying to explain it as they could have.
I'm holding out for Twister.
Yeah, it would have been more interesting.
Titty twister.
The movie's it's not as bad as I expected. I'll put it that way. But it is not a movie for us. You nailed it. This is starter horror.
Yeah.
Let the kids enjoy it. It was
How about a purple Nurple horror movie called Red Nurple?
with a couple of the actresses in this. That might have been interesting, actually.
Yeah, you're right. They were
All right,
cute.
Hunter, take it.
Okay, I had to watch a movie because I have agreed to write an essay for Jack. You'd love this. A book on vampires, and they came to me.
Sons of bitches.
So, I had wanted to do The Hunger, the David Bowie, Catherine Deneuve, Susan Sarandon movie, but somebody picked it. So I was like, oh, well, then I know what I'm doing. The Vampire Lovers.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Ingrid.
I knew you'd appreciate that. There's two words for this movie. Ingrid Pitt. Ingrid Pitt.
Get her,
Ingrid
baby.
Pitt.
There we go.
This is a Hammer film from the early 70s. It is about Ingrid Pitt. It's girl power, man. Ingrid Pitt is a vampire that gets ensconced in these families in the 1800s, or it's the 1700s, I think. And then eventually turns whatever the youngest girl is in there into a vampire or kills her.
This movie is actually an interpretation of the old vampire stories at Carmilla or Carmilla.
It's one of the oldest vampire stories.
You know what I'm, you know the name of it.
Yeah. So it's you know what? There's lesbian stuff in it. There's nudity. There's Ingrid Pitt nudity. It has one of the best looking casts that you'll ever see in a vampire movie. But all that titillation aside, it's actually pretty good.
You're describing this? I don't know that I've seen this movie.
I took this was part of a triple feature at the Alamo a couple of years ago. I took my daughter to see it, and we saw that Child's Play and Candyman, and that Vampire Lovers was her favorite movie.
So Vampire Lovers, there's 3 Hammer movies that are like a kind of a trilogy, even though they're not directly related. It's Vampire Lovers, Twins of Evil, and the one I bought at Chiller last year. What the hell is it called? Lust for a Vampire.
Lust for a Vampire, that's right.
Which this one is definitely the best of the 3.
It's the cream of the crop, and it has Peter Cushing in it as
Yes.
the general.
Damn. All right.
Yeah, man, this is good. Just Hammer gothic fun.
I was
with-
actually thinking, I watched this a couple of years ago, and this is one of those ones I'm circling for Halloween month.
I realized because I grabbed it on Amazon. I realized I have to own this.
Hammer movies are tremendous October horror movies to watch because they have that whole look and feel of a
Yeah, they're perfect.
Right.
So check out the Vampire Lovers.
It's
It was on
Blu-ray
Amazon
for $10 on Amazon.
Oh, awesome! I'll pick it up.
Yeah, Jack.
I'll go quick. This is the only other thing I watched, and I was doing something else, and I needed something that I loved that I didn't have to pay that much attention to. But then I end up The Rock. I had to go get another Nicolas Cage fix.
You fucked up your Ferrari, man.
The Rock.
Now, Hunter's been to Alcatraz with me, so he knows that I was just quoting The Rock the entire time I was there. So
that's why we drank so heavily when we got back from there.
I'm a chemical weapon super freak.
God,
Carla was the prom queen.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Anytime I'm golfing and somebody putts and somebody goes, good speed. I'm like, good speed. Sure, are you aware of the etymology of a name?
Ed Harris is actually good in that movie.
That movie is, I cannot turn that movie off when it's on. I love it. And this is where Nicolas Cage is at his best, because he throws himself in the role. He's funny enough. He's serious enough. He's a greatly paired with Sean Connery. Ed Harris. All the bad guys are the sleaziest guys. It's got Candyman, that other guy who's the bad guy in everything. They got like the most villainous villains. It's just it's a big cartoon, and it was very fun coming off of watching Mandy, of watching Nicolas Cage in this, because I'm like, yeah. There's some Nicolas Cage movies you just hate, and there's other ones you just love. And this is one of the ones I love.
This is when he was doing those crazy action movies in the late 90s for like 5 years and just crushing them, and they were ridiculous and fun.
This was like this first one, I think, because then he went into like Con Air and all the other ones.
Con Air. I love Con Air. It's so bad.
I don't know, man. None of those movies got me.
Oh, they're so much fun.
I feel like I missed out on something, but I watched them. I was like, sure.
They're almost so bad it's good movies, but with giant budgets and huge stars. They're just glorious.
All the other ones I don't really like. It's the Rock though. It is. I mean, what's his name? Who's the guy who made that movie? Michael Bay. It's slow motion, smoke, spinning cameras. Everything's over dramatic. The music.
I'm gonna have to chug about 10 Oktoberfests and then watch that again.
It's so much fun. So anyway,
he's the best in that.
I just needed to compliment Mandy with The Rock. So that's all I got for you.
All right, let me close this out with a film I'd been meaning to go back to. It's probably been a couple years since I've seen it. Creep Show.
I know that movie.
George Romero movie. I always end up watching like a segment of this. I don't typically watch the whole movie, but I finally did again. This movie is so refreshing. We're going through this whole nostalgia phase right now with 80s horror movies. Creep Show is the nostalgia movie for insane 50s cheeseball horror movies, and I love it. Each segment just is great. The one that's always weird to me is the Stephen King one, because his performance is so weird.
Jordy Verrill?
Yeah. It's like, why did you cast Stephen King in this role? It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
But, he does a fine job. Although I'm noticing a pattern with King's movies. If he wants you to think the character is a complete idiot, he has him watching pro wrestling in it. Because I just watched Silver Bullet a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And an idiot father in that is watching pro wrestling, and he thinks it's real. And it's like,
now he'd have you with a Trump sticker on your car.
Yes, I bet that's the new thing now. You're watching The Apprentice or something.
Yep.
So anyway, there's little I can say about this movie that hasn't been said. It's great. I'd actually be curious to find out what somebody watching it now, say somebody under the age of 20, what they would get from it, because they probably haven't seen 50s horror movies. They haven't seen a lot of the old animated stuff they do in this. I don't know. Does it seem weird now, or does it still fit?
I showed it to my daughter last year when she was 18, and she loved it. And her favorite skit was the one with Ted Danson in it. Which was weird.
Probably my second favorite one. Just because Leslie Nielsen is so goddamn good in that. He's creepy.
I get this movie and the Twilight Zone movie confused, so I can never remember which one has which. So this has Stephen King growing moss on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's got the Ted Danson, "You Can't Kill Me, I'm Already Dead" with the bearing. And what else is in there?
It's got the guy with the bugs.
Yep.
Oh, the bugs, the cockroaches, right?
The crate is
The
probably
crate.
the best one. With
Oh yeah. Okay.
Although you know what, that was always my favorite with Adrienne Barbeau.
hmm
But then when I watched it, I was like, wow, it's too long.
It's slow.
Yeah.
slow, but it's got the most complete characters in it. Like
Ed
you
Harris in
really
it.
hate Adrienne Barbeau in that. It's a sketch or a sketch. I guess it's not really a sketch. It's a segment where a guy feeds his wife to a monster, and you want to cheer afterwards.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
She's so horrible in that movie. So I love
You
it.
did a good thing.
Now I'm gonna watch Creepshow 2. Probably.
She's
for next
horrible in
week.
Back to School as well.
I don't remember.
She's Thornton Mellon's bitch wife that he divorces at the beginning of the
Oh
movie.
shit, that's right.
Yeah, I completely forgot. So anyway, hopefully I'll get to part 2 for next week. All right, you guys ready
Beauty.
for some Mandy action?
Let's do it.
Stellar.
Here we go.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
All right, Jack, you want to hit us with a description of this? You saw it first. I've been looking forward to this all year, and I had no idea it even come out because the release was so low key.
All right. So as I said, it's a kind of revenge horror flick that is an acid trip. So
That sums it up perfectly.
Yeah, we should have just skipped the drinking game this week and just done a tab of acid game.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a 80s fantasy novel.
It's a
Acid
heavy
trip.
metal cover. I heard him
Heavy
say that
metal.
in an interview, and that's what it is.
Yes. So Nicolas Cage is like this power lumberjack in the woods somewhere. And he comes home to his like artist hippie wife who draws like album covers or something. She's always wearing like a Motley Crue shirt, and she's a kind of like a flower childy.
She's a super hippie who's into like Slayer.
Yeah, she's like a metal hippie.
Yeah, and Black Sabbath and everything.
Yeah.
She was cool.
She's an emo. I don't know what she is, but she's Mandy, and they love each other and snuggle. And she talks about her day to him, and while they snuggle. Meanwhile, these weird religious people who are just this group of weirdos. I don't know if they live nearby or they just arrived. It's been a couple weeks since I watched this.
Who knows?
But Mandy goes for a walk and they happen to be driving by, and the leader sees her and just is enthralled by her. So they pretty much descend upon their household and terrorize them. And many bad things happen to Mandy and Nicolas Cage before Nicolas Cage takes revenge on the hippie love cult. And
His inimitable,
from
over the top way.
it goes from a trippy, surreal thing into some of the most bizarre action / gore scenes that you'll see, and then it'll go trippy again for a little while, and it'll flick back to this crazy horror fantasy stuff. So I don't know. That's my synopsis.
There you go. Perfect.
That's
as good as it's gonna get.
That's probably the longest synopsis for a chainsaw fight movie ever done. Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, really.
Hunter, what did you think of Mandy?
All right. This is a hard movie to suggest to anybody. I watched it with my wife. She's almost into horror as much as I am. She bailed 25 minutes in. She goes, I
can
can't
believe it.
take these colors. This is stupid the way they shot this. This is like overexposed film by a kid doing a college project. And I kept saying, just let it wash over you like a trip. Just don't try to think too far ahead. Just be in the moment. Because she was trying to think, what does this mean? Where are they going with this? But she just couldn't do it. Like,
It's a completely unique film in that way. Yeah, the look and the sounds and the pace. There's nothing else like it, really.
you'll think your TV is broken when you watch this. You'll think something's gone wrong. You might try to adjust the brightness, the color contrast, because there's a lot of experimental weird shit going on there. But you come to realize it's acid. People in this movie are on acid. They want you to feel like you're on acid watching it.
There literally is super acid in this movie.
There's mega super crazy effing acid in this movie.
Turns you into a Cenobite.
Yes.
There are ATV riding Cenobites.
That's
Which-
not an exaggeration.
Not kidding you. There's the black dude from Predator.
Yes.
Bill
In this-
Duke?
That his name?
He's the guy that in Commando, he goes, I eat green berets for breakfast. He's very hungry.
I wanted to just see him have that like disposable razor still and just like going on his face. But he's Nicolas Cage's friend who he goes to for weapons and some advice. Now, here, help me on this part. Now, the ATV Cenobites. He talked about there were people bad. There's something bad in town, and people who took really bad acid, and they're all effed up. Are those the Cenobites, or are the Cenobites actual demons?
The Cenobites.
I think they're people.
Okay, I was like, I think they're people who are just whacked on acid.
Like
That's what I think.
that shit that they handed those guys in the woods when they made their trade for the people,
Right.
that was more of that stuff. That crazy.
So they were
hallucinogenic.
people.
Yeah, they
Who
were
was-
they were
was-
humans. They were just insane.
This movie is so. That was like let's bring out 4 Gimps. It was that kind of moment when that came on.
The whole movie's like that. It's like, what?
I in the end, I liked this movie. I liked the experience of the movie and had the best goddamn chainsaw fight you are ever going to see. Motel
Glorious.
Hell, Step Aside, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sorry, this just upped it to another level. But
So when I watch this movie, the trippy parts, there's some really slow parts.
yeah,
And there was a few moments where I was like, all right, come on. But then it would just either get so bizarre or they would do something cool. Like there's one scene where the cult leader guy is talking and it's trippy and there's sort of overlaid images. So his mouth,
his face
isn't
morphing
moving.
into hers.
Yeah. And his mouth isn't moving and then it's moving and stuff. That I'm like, that's actually really cool. That I was like, this movie could have really pissed me off and felt pretentious or overbearing. But instead, it was just like, what the hell is going on here? But they kept pulling me back with something funny or interesting or just nuts that would keep me coming back. And so I don't know how often I'd want to watch this movie, but I definitely am glad I watched it. And like I told you guys, I think you have to see it at least once to.
It's a kind of movie that's going to keep rolling over on you when you least expect it, like an acid flashback. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I dug it, but like I said, I can't suggest it for everybody.
I've got a. This movie's so weird. It's I feel like if this was 30 minutes shorter, it would be a movie that everyone would go absolutely crazy about. Just
You're
how
absolutely
nuts
right.
it is, and Nicolas Cage losing his mind. But at the same time, I don't know if it's a movie that would stick with you as much. I've been thinking about this movie pretty much nonstop since I watched it, and I keep appreciating it more. But at the time I was watching, I kept thinking, Jesus Christ, how long do we have to see them like laying in bed just talking about nothing? Like, Jesus, like, get on with it.
What's your favorite planet?
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it's like, they could shorten it and make it tighter and maybe more entertaining first view, but would it make it less memorable? I don't know.
I think then if you do that, it's a movie where now it's an experience.
Yes, I think that's a good summation.
This feels like a movie that's going to be not that this really happens anymore, but back in the day, this would have been a midnight movie staple.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Apparently it's been crushing it in the limited viewings. People were just going nuts in the theater for it. I can totally believe that.
Can you imagine recommending this to a normie? Like you're saying how your wife's reaction to this. If I ever told my sister to watch this movie, I think we'd never speak to each other again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I told my dad to watch it, he would punch me in the throat 10 minutes in.
Then you're going to have other friends who are like Tim Meyer's got to have a Mandy shirt like next time we see him.
Yeah, totally.
He's going to put it over his Greasy Strangler's hoodie.
Yeah.
He's changing his kids' names to Mandy. I think you nailed it, Jack, when you said this movie was going in a very pretentious route, and then it would just pull these crazy things in from B movies, like the chainsaw fight. Like, what in God's name? Or when he's fighting the Cenobites.
He forges his own axe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Let's not forget that.
all the crazy sounds and the visuals and all that, and then
He doesn't just go to the woodshed and get one. And it looks like
It's out of Dungeons and Dragons or something.
Yeah, it's like the Hildebrand brothers painted that, and he goes, "I like the Hildebrand brothers painted that," and he goes, "I like that one."
And he does it in one night.
Yeah, and he buffed it to a very nice sheen.
Boy, it was
Beautiful.
gorgeous.
It's gorgeous axe. So he does that, and then he fights Cenobites and does a mound of coke off a piece of broken glass, and then drinks this crazy LSD concoction, and then goes and fights religious nuts.
Who happened to live down the street or something, or down the path.
It seemed pretty close. They all seemed pretty close to each other.
I didn't understand how time worked in this, and I'm guessing that was intentional because of how trippy the movie was. Because it's like he's talking to Bill Duke, who's saying, "Oh, I think they're over here," and then 5 minutes later, he's killing them all. So,
yeah, I got confused.
Yeah, I don't know. The scene where he meets the guy making the drugs, and the guy has a tiger in a cage.
A tiger.
What is happening? Is this real?
Did I interpret this wrong? But does the tiger represent Nicolas Cage? Because then at the end he sees the painting, the drawing his wife did of it was like him and the tiger.
Dude, I don't know.
I have no idea.
The tiger did nothing except walk out the cage.
That was totally the Apocalypse Now trippy moment.
But see, there were all these homages. Remember when he was driving down the road in the dark with the trees around? That's Evil Dead too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you've got Hellraiser, you've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Motel Hell. There's so many
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. So many nods to great movies.
Yeah,
and the Suspiria colors.
Very much. Very much. I will say one thing that I absolutely love is the way he uses sound. Just with one sound just drawn out like a string or something, or some kind of synthetic bassy sound.
Right.
It added a ton of tension. The scene where they're killing his wife at the beginning, which is not a spoiler, people, it's in the description of the movie. There's no one talking over a huge chunk of that, and it's just these crazy sounds, and it's super intense.
How about the fact that what was so disturbing? Everybody's pupils were super dilated in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, are they doing this to them on set, or is this like effects after? Because they were fucking disturbing. Everybody was disturbing.
I think I first noticed it when he was sitting by a fire at the beginning, and she comes out of a lake or something naked and is just staring at him for 10 minutes.
With her big scar under her eye and her giant Shelley Duvall look going at that moment.
So weird.
Yeah,
meanwhile, check her out on Google. She's very pretty. Outside of this movie.
I'm struggling with how to even describe this, but it's not incompetently made. I could see a lot of people looking at this and just thinking this is terrible, stupid crap, but I definitely don't think so.
Everything has a purpose. Every single thing in that movie has
a lot of the things she says and does and the shirts she wears come into play later in certain ways. I need to watch it again because I was in shock of a lot of what was happening, so I feel like I need to pay more attention to details. But
well, I think the shirts, here's where I think the shirts came in. Now you know what her taste is. She loves hardcore metal, and when the cult guy kidnaps her and put his fucking artsy-fartsy flute in the woods music that he made, and she laughs at him.
The Carpenters, I think.
Because she'll never like that. You can't get her high enough to like that shit because of what she is, what she loves.
She laughs at his Johnson, doesn't she?
Yes, for a very long time.
Oh my god. Oh, by the way, yeah, there's a lot of man peeing.
A lot.
So that's the guy. He was Thomas Wayne in Batman Begins.
Oh yes! Wow. Okay. Well, when did Batman Begins come out?
Why do we fall?
13 years ago. A long time ago. I also thought the gore was well done. It was gory, but it never went into torture porn territory.
When the guy just belches blood all over Nicolas Cage's face.
Oh my god! And his reaction to it.
Yeah,
it was moments like that when I was like, okay, there was a few parts where I was kind of struggling, and then that would happen, and I go, oh, well, who am I kidding? I love this movie.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was things like that. It's we're not watching Saw, but we're watching some crazy shit happening on screen. Have you guys seen his first movie, Beyond the Black Rainbow?
No.
It's on Shudder. I've started it twice, and I've only made it a half an hour in because if you think the beginning of Mandy is slow, this is way beyond. I want to finish it, but it's something where I started and I'm like, I cannot pay attention enough to this movie right now.
Just figured that he used that movie to learn what to do for this movie.
Quite possibly. It might get crazy in the end, but that would be like if you turned this off after half an hour, you'd have no idea about the insanity waiting.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, if you take Mom and Dad and then this, Nick Cage has 2 back-to-back baddie
subtle performances.
Subtle. They're awesome, though. He's great at both of them.
There's the scene in this movie where his wife has passed and he's in that bathroom, swigging booze and screaming these primal. I mean,
this was almost
the top, but it was
that's
really
his Apocalypse
good.
Now scene, is what that
This
is.
was almost like the guy from Raising Arizona.
High.
20 years later, after some tough breaks of life.
Get that baby, H.I.
Actually, he's fighting a crazy demon biker.
And
in both
now
movies.
he's fighting the lone
That's
biker of
right.
the Apocalypse's family.
It was Tex Cobb in the first one, and now it's Cenobites.
Yeah, that I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd forgotten about that scene, his Apocalypse Now scene, where he's in his underwear, he's stabbed, he's bleeding, and he just pounds an entire bottle of vodka. And I was wondering, how much is this real vodka, or because it's Nicolas Cage,
Well, yeah, was he doing Leaving Las Vegas, or what's that movie? Where he drinks himself
where
to
he's
death?
drunk.
Leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But I wondered how much of that scene was actually planned and how much was just they said, okay, your girlfriend just died, act crazy, because I noticed there was a little bit of weird camera movement in it. It started with a slow pan in or dolly in, and then it kind of stopped and kind of came back, and it was when he was really starting to lose his shit. And I wondered, is the cameraman thinking, oh shit, is he gonna come over here? Or was he thinking, oh, I'm panning in too fast and he's gonna freak out for the next 5 minutes? So I would love to get a DVD commentary track on that.
And by the way, who keeps a bottle of vodka in their bathroom? It was in the linen closet.
Power lumberjacks.
Yeah, really. I like to keep rye in the bathroom, not vodka.
That scene, I thought, though, people can take it as, oh, well, he's overacting. That's just so stupid. Or you could take it as in, holy cow, he literally threw his guts and soul up in that scene.
I thought that was great acting. That's why I said that was his Apocalypse Now moment when Martin Sheen freaks out and breaks the mirror with his hand and had an actual mental breakdown.
Yep.
I think Nicolas Cage was perfectly cast in this movie because if there was somebody else in this movie doing, even if they gave a great performance, I think the fact that it's Nicolas Cage you're watching makes the movie more interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
And gives it a little more validity.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Nicolas Cage can really act when given the right role.
If he chooses.
And when a lot of times when they reel him in a little bit, he can do some great stuff. But sometimes you just let it rip like this in Mom and Dad. Yes, please. This is kind of a little bit of both. He was very subdued at the beginning of this. And then just cocaine and a bottle of vodka later, he's rocking.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't wait to see what you guys thought of this movie because, like I said, I watched it and I'm coming back going, this is easily a movie that people could come back and be like, dude, that was the biggest pile of crap I've ever seen. Or, oh my God, I need this on Blu-ray tomorrow, So it's hard to tell.
I'm in the still processing phase.
Yeah, I think for most people, this is going to be a 1-star or a 4 or a 5-star movie. Right now, I'm at the 4-star. I really like it, but I don't want to say I love it yet because there's some 20-minute segments where I'm like, Jesus Christ, can you get going?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think I could I don't know if I would own this and just be like, yeah, that's going to be a go-to.
I don't know if I watched it again, I might sit down and watch it back to back one more time in full. But this is one of those ones almost like Anchorman. You never watch Anchorman start to finish. You jump in and watch parts of it, and then it feels like this is like that. I need to watch. I'm going to watch 20 minutes of this movie. Then they're going trippy. I'm going to see what else is on.
Santiago.
Yeah, I'm going to probably watch it one more time just because I want to see what more I can pick up on. But it's over 2 hours, isn't it?
It's either over or just at it. It's close. It was a long, but then I watched 2 hours of a Bigfoot documentary. So I could watch 2 hours of anything, I guess.
I gotta say, this will be high up on my top movies of the year, though, just because it's so different and so entertaining.
Absolutely.
It's
That
on the list for me for contention. I don't know if it'll make the final cut, but it's on there right now.
We'll see what happens in October with this list coming out, but right now it's probably in my top 5. We'll see when I watch it
Ooh.
again. So
This is this year's Mother,
yeah,
but Jack likes it.
I thought about Mother with this movie because I thought it was kind of the same effect, that there's going to be people that think this is amazing and other people who think that this is crap.
See, at least Mother was visually appealing.
You don't think this was
I
visually
thought this
appealing?
was incredibly visually.
No, I thought this was visually irritating, but I got it. I know why it was done.
I thought it was beautiful. I could see it annoying the shit out of people, but
It just reminded me of the old days when the tubes in your TV started to go, and you're like, oh shit.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's 1983 too, so they give it a little bit of a dated.
This is true.
And listen, for the horror fan, the way that Mandy is treated by the
Duh.
religious is pretty. We won't spoil it here, but it's pretty rough.
By the way, why did it have to be 1983? Was there anything in this that you said, yeah?
I think it gives them license to be a little bit more colorful and retro.
It's part of that whole metal thing he was doing too.
Yeah.
So
An acid. Oh, you know what? Acid was big in the early 80s too, so I guess all right.
I think that's
remember.
why he said it there.
It totally had the album cover and book cover thing going. I mean, they even do it with the chapter names.
Yeah,
The chapter names were cool.
yeah. The animated stuff was really neat.
Too bad Nick Cage didn't have like a jean jacket with like the back of like Icarus painted on the back or something.
Any Molly Hatchet album cover.
Molly Hatchet, son of a bitch. That would have been awesome.
Part of me thought it would have been neat to hear some of the metal songs playing during the fight scenes, but then the other part of me was like, no, it would have completely blown the crazy audio shit he was doing throughout the whole film.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been nice to have a cool metal track sometimes,
So
but not at that moment.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this. Do you feel like this guy would be somebody Blumhouse could get and rein him in a little bit and do some super spot-on movies? Or do you think having somebody try to control what he's doing a little bit would just completely wreck what the craziness he's going for in these movies?
Do you think Blumhouse could rein in a guy named Panos Cosmatos? No.
But Blumhouse seems a little too mainstream for me.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, could you
Give him the A24.
Well, yeah, this pretty much felt like an A24 movie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In fact,
Give him the Vivid Video.
I would think he would tell Jason Blum to go fuck himself.
I have a feeling too. And to be honest, I don't want that to happen. I'm just curious if I just keep going back to, man, if this was like 20 minutes, 25 minutes shorter, you know?
Yeah, but then I think, you might not like it as much.
It might
In a
not stay
weird
with
way. Right.
It's a weird movie. I am so curious to hear what everybody thinks about this, what the cult thinks when they get to watch it. It's bizarre.
If they do. I think we've encouraged them.
Yeah, if you want to see Nick Cage, let her rip, man.
This actually, if I could see this in a theater, I might do that.
Ooh,
If you
full
had a
immersion.
big screen, that might be, and then you wouldn't be tempted to look at your phone or anything like that. You could just sit there and take it in, and I don't know. That'd be interesting. I'd probably never do it, but it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think you said this would be a fun midnight movie. 100%. And the phone thing is true too, because there were a couple times like, nope, stop, don't start reading your email.
Yeah, no.
Pay attention to the movie. But it's pretty easy when he's staring across a fire at a girl for 10 goddamn minutes. I'm like, ah.
I know.
She's weird. We get it.
You have to resist temptation.
Yeah.
Because you can't break the moment.
Jack, what's your recommendation on this sucker?
I said it before. I'll say it again. I don't know whether you're going to like this movie or not, but I think if you're a horror fan, you need to see it. And I think there's enough in there that even if you don't like the whole movie, you're going to walk out and remember scenes from this movie. Some of the scenes in this movie are some of the best scenes you're going to see. So it's a memorable movie that's maybe a little flawed, maybe a whole lot weird, but definitely worth seeing.
Hunter.
Go for the ride, man. It's $6.99 right now on Amazon. Just ride that sucker.
I'm curious, if you drop LSD, I've never done LSD, what does this movie become with the crazy ass colors and everything?
Probably becomes an episode of The Jeffersons. Who knows?
It becomes the Goldbergs.
Yeah, you're listening to the Carpenters. in a robe, open in your living room.
The Goldbergs takes place in the 80s. This is totally. It's the Goldbergs with guest star Nick Cage.
Oh, here you'd love this. As I'm watching the movie, I start hearing softly Barry Manilow. I can't live without you.
Can't smile without you.
Smile
One of
without
karaoke staples.
So I'm hearing that, and it's Nick Cage is close up. I'm going, wow, this is a weird music choice. And it's my wife who was playing it and put it like around me, so I didn't know.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. I'm with you guys. This is 100% worth the money for a rental. Even if you don't love this movie, which I'm not sure if I'm there yet, you won't be able to forget it. That's for damn sure. This is the most unique movie I've seen this year. Just, Jack, I think you both said Mother.
Yep.
It feels like this year's Mother, but with a ton of crazy B-movie segments in it in the last half that are just out of control and great.
This is Father.
This is if Nick Cage was in Mother and they let him do anything he wanted.
Good God.
All right. We did not talk about what we're doing next week. I guess we'll have to let everyone know on the social medias.
Leave them guessing.
Is there anything coming out? I really haven't been paying attention.
The Assassination Club or whatever that is.
We'll do a little research and
I don't know.
Maybe we'll put a poll up, and maybe we won't even pay attention to the results. But
yeah, maybe we won't put a poll up. We'll see.
I don't know.
Can put a poll up your anyway.
All right. As always, we appreciate it. Anyone wants to be kind and leave us a review, a thumbs up on YouTube, anything like that, we like it. And we've got some more reviews coming up on finalguys.com all the time, so check it out. Guys, anything else you want to add?
No. Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Bye.